Good evening, folks. You're listening once again to the Hour of the Time. I'm William Cooper. Well, last night you heard another rerun, and that's not my doing. I had planned to have some very good friends as guests on the broadcast, but they didn't show up. I had some good friends who were supposed to be driving in from California. One from the East Coast who flew to California because she has, and this is somebody I've known for years and years and years, has attended to every conference we ever had, has signed up with BART as an associate for prepaid legal, and so was flying to California to attend a prepaid legal seminar to learn, what BART has learned. And all of you who have signed up with prepaid legal, you know how precious BART is. He's probably one of the nicest, most knowledgeable, most understanding, most patient. And it's the patience that is important because I don't have it anymore. I don't have any patience. BART has all the patience in the world. He'll talk to you forever about whatever you want to talk about. It doesn't make any difference. But anyway, she flew out to be with Bart to go to a seminar to learn how to be an honest, knowledgeable, prepaid legal associate. And that's my good friend, Pat Carpentieri. And she was going to meet up with Jean, who lives in California. And Pat and Jean and one of their husbands, or maybe both, maybe I misunderstood, I thought, maybe one of their husbands, they were all going to come out here to Arizona and visit me on Tuesday, which was yesterday. And I figured they'd be here about 4 o'clock. And they told me that they would call me and tell me when they were going to arrive, and I never received a phone call. And so I began to get worried, and they, wanted to meet with Doyle too, and because Doyle has been a very major part of everything that I've ever done. He's like a brother to me. And they know Doyle personally from the conferences over the years. And so Doyle was put everything on hold and was ready to jump up here at a moment's notice, and they never showed up. Well, about 9 o'clock last night, I got so worried, I began calling law enforcement agencies and hospitals and all kinds of people all along the routes that I thought that they might have taken. And there were no emergencies or hospitalized people, even remotely connected with their names. And so I stayed up until about 3:30 this morning, hoping that maybe they just got delayed and they're late and they'll be rolling in at any time, and they never did. And I was wakened this morning because I went to bed after 3:30. I was awakened this morning shortly after 9 o'clock. I was in a dead sleep. I got to tell you, I was out of it. And shortly after 9, the phone started ringing. I thought, oh, that's them. They finally got here. And I picked up the phone. It wasn't them. It was Alan Weiner. And I was so glad to hear from Alan because the last time that I told you about Alan, he had been diagnosed with cancer, prostate cancer, and he was going into surgery, and nobody knew if it had spread to the other parts of his body or anything. Nobody knew anything. And Alan told me that first thing he said is, Bill, I'm so thankful for the tribute that you gave to me on your broadcast, and I received so much mail. It just renewed my dedication to everything that I'm doing, and it felt so good. And he said he was listening that night, and he really didn't expect much of a response, but the response was overwhelming, and he was very, very thankful for that. But I told him he shouldn't be thankful to me. He should be thankful to all of you who really understood my friendship and loyalty to Alan Weiner and have developed your own style of friendship and loyalty to Alan Weiner. And of course, what I was talking about had nothing to do with this broadcast or WBCQ or anything else. It was my concern about a dear friend who had been diagnosed with cancer. And I was so concerned about that. And I want to thank all of you who wrote and who really boosted his spirits and made him feel so good. The surgery is over. They say, and I stress, they say that they got it all, but you can never tell for a year or two because cancer has an insidious way of spreading throughout the body without being able to be detected for a while after the initial cancer or tumor infection is gone. So please don't stop praying for Alan. Keep praying for Alan. Keep whatever it is that you did. Because I'll tell you something. If people know that somebody loves them, and if somebody is praying for them, they have a better chance than if that's not happening. And I think that's been proven over the years, even scientifically. So that's that. Now, I'm still worried about Jean and Pat and their husband or husbands. I'm not sure if both husbands were coming or just one husband was coming. But I've just been worried out of my mind. I still am. I sent Jean an email. I have not received an answer. I tried calling her a couple of times this morning, and nobody answered the phone. So I don't know what's happened to these people. There's two possibilities. Either some terrible catastrophe has happened, which I pray and I pray is not true, or I misunderstood somehow the date that they were coming. But I don't think that's the case because when Jean called last week, she said, "Hey, Pat's coming out to go to the prepaid legal seminar over the weekend, and we thought we'd pick her up and we could all drive to Phoenix because we're going to Phoenix anyway, and because we got to go and see somebody, and we thought we'd drive up and spend a couple of hours with you on Tuesday, and what's the best motel in town that we can get?" And I told them the Best Western. She said, "Okay, Bill, you be ready now. And Pat's bringing, all the ingredients. She's going to make you a lasagna on Tuesday, and we'll see you Tuesday." I said, "Okay." And we hung up. And that's the last I've ever heard from her. So I don't expect the worst. What I expect is some terrible screw-up, and I don't know what it could possibly be, unless I just got the whole thing wrong. So that's why you had a rerun last night. I was sitting here. They were supposed to be here at 4. They weren't. I called WBCQ and said, "Hey, what's going on, man? I need somebody to do a rerun for me tonight. And if you don't hear from me, go ahead and do the rerun. If they roll in, then I'll get on the air live." And last night, I found out that WBCQ was hit by lightning. So they weren't even on the air. So if you were looking for the Hour of the Time or WBCQ last night and you didn't hear them, it's because WBCQ had a lightning strike and it hurt terribly one of their transmitters, and so they were unable to broadcast until they fixed the problem and got back on the air at about, well, I don't know. I really don't know, but it was after my broadcast, I can tell you that. So tonight, we're going to open the phones, and I really am so worried about my friends that I just hope that you guys will carry the broadcast. And it's open topic, open phones, open subject, open everything that you can think of, and we'll go from there, okay? And maybe if they're listening, one of them will call in and tell me what the hell happened here. Because that really, really bothers me. The phone's ringing right now. I hope it's one of them. If it's not, I'm going to be very upset. Good evening. You're on the air.
Bill, this is Jean.
Jean, where are you?
Oh, God, are you still speaking to me? Oh, we are still here, and I emailed you this afternoon, but I guess you didn't get it yet. Pat is not coming in until next Wednesday, Thursday. I'm so upset I can hardly speak. All this trouble and problems that I've caused you.
Well, no, you didn't cause me any problem except that I love you guys so much.
Oh.
I've been so worried. Why? The only thing I want to know is, why didn't you call me?
Well, no, I have it. We're coming the following Tuesday. The Tuesday, she's coming in for Brad's seminar on the, let's see, she'll be 14th, 15th, and 16th. So we're going to be leaving on Monday on the 17th, and we'll be there to your place on the 18th.
So all this stuff, I'll see you on Tuesday, was projected into the future, and
yeah.
I was supposed to understand that.
Yeah, that's my fault. I just sort of felt like, after the seminar, and I just apologize to you, your listeners. I am so upset. I'm sitting here shaking. I feel so bad.
Well, don't feel bad. And you don't owe the listeners any apology.
Well, I mean, you're sitting there and doing all of this, and I emailed you, and I don't even have the right pan for Pat to make this lasagna, and she's getting this sausage, and she does. I mean, this lasagna will be in Ripley's, believe it or not, because it will have so many miles on it.
Well, you know what? I'm just so relieved.
Oh, I feel so
I
bad.
am so relieved because I have been so worried.
Oh, God, I would be too, and I just felt so bad when I got your email this afternoon. I thought I just didn't even know what to do, and I'm beside myself, and then I'm hearing this on the radio, and I think, oh, well, anyway, I just apologize so much to everybody.
Well, you don't need to be apologized. I'm just so happy to know what the problem is.
Well, everybody.
I remember when we talked, you kept talking about Tuesday.
Yeah.
You never gave me a date.
I know it. Listen, the world will know you've got a dingbat friend. What can I say?
No, you're not a dingbat
yes,
friend.
I am.
I think you got excited about the prospect
I did,
coming.
because, we didn't want to make sure that we could come up there until it was okay with you. So anyway, and then as soon as I hung up from you, I put to Pat, I says, rattle those pots and pans, it's a go. So anyway, well, I won't hold you up on the time element, but we will see you next on the Tuesday on the 18th, and I'll give you a call when we get into Eager.
Okay, now you realize that's not the next Tuesday.
Oh, no, I know that.
That's the one following.
I'm sorry. Listen, I'm having a senior moment.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay. Well, anyway,
Jean, relax. Take a deep breath. I love you. I just wanted to know that you guys were okay.
Yeah.
I thought that there could have been some terrible accident or something.
Listen, I had our church pray, and we got angels protecting us, so we're going to be in good company.
Well, I believe that.
Okay, well, listen, we'll see you soon, but I'll be in touch in the meantime.
Thanks so much for calling.
Many pardons.
You have no idea how much it means to me that you called, and now I finally know what's going on.
Okay, you can go to bed early tonight.
All right, I will.
Okay.
I'll go to bed real early, like right after the
Make up for last night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Jean.
Bye now.
I love you.
I love you, too.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Wow. 520-333-4578's the number. Open phones, open topic, open every. Boy, am I relieved. She never mentioned a date. You believe it, folks? She never mentioned a date. She said, see you Tuesday. It's okay. She was excited. And I am, too. I'm so excited to be able to see these wonderful people whom I love, been friends with for many years, attended every conference we ever had. I care so much about them. And I've talked about Jean many times over the years. I mean, she's taken the role of mother to me. She gripes at me about my health and what I'm eating or not eating or drinking or not drinking and the medicine or the herbs or the vitamins and stuff that I should be taking. 520-333-4578. Open topic, open phones, open news, open subject, open whatever you want. Thanks, Dean, for calling. I'm so relieved. Good evening. You're on the air.
Hi, Bill. This is Dwayne from Pennsylvania.
Hi, Dwayne.
Hi. I'd like to try to resolve a discrepancy, or at least I think it's a discrepancy. I'll run it past you, see what you think.
Okay.
On one side of the issue, you hear about the productivity index for American workers.
Now explain what you're talking about, because you're talking to me and I know what you're talking about, but there's millions of people out there who haven't got a clue. So you have to explain everything that you're talking about. You have to explain what it is, what it means, and then go on from there.
Well, I believe the productivity index refers to how productive American workers are compared with a set amount of work done in a certain time. And apparently it's been increasing from, I think, between 1973 and 1978. It increased a total of 28%, or a little bit over 1% a year.
Now, this is our productivity compared to who? Or what?
I guess compared to past measures of the...
You really believe that when our entire manufacturing base has deserted the country?
Well, that's part of the thing, too, I'm trying to bring out.
Yeah. Well, I think you're onto something, because it's a lie. But go ahead.
Right. Yes, that. Also, on the same side of the equation, they say the standard of living for Americans is increasing.
That's also a lie.
I believe that, too.
Since 1978, the average income of the average household based upon a single family wage earner has tremendously decreased. And in fact, today, the entire family, including anybody who is of work age, has to work just to keep the family's head above water.
Okay, so
unless you're rich.
Right. You really
and there's nothing wrong with being rich. I'm not condemning the rich. That's the promise of this country, is that if you're willing to work and can reach your potential, and you have the potential, you too can become rich. And I love that.
Right. So I think you really explained the discrepancy before I got to it, but here's the discrepancy. It's how families have to have two wage earners now to support the family.
Yeah, and so they're not talking about individuals. They're talking about families, aren't they?
Right.
And so when they're talking about families, they're talking about the mean income compared basically to each other, not taking inflation into accountability whatsoever. But if you factor in inflation between 1978 and today, people are drowning. There's no inflation factor in that figure, is there?
Right, and that goes back to the phony monetary system started in 1913.
They're all liars! And people read this stuff, and they're so brain dead and so dumb and so ignorant, they don't even know to understand that the money earned by a family in 1978 was much more than a family earned today.
Right. So that standard of living increase is just all a bunch of lies.
Absolutely, a bunch of lies.
Right. Okay, I just wanted to confirm that along with the monetary system, the loss of manufacturing base, it all...
Yeah, the manufacturing base is good. We have no manufacturing base.
Right.
We don't manufacture anything anymore.
Exactly. And, this free trade they're trying to tout is just, pushing everything that much down.
It's a way to make nations interdependent upon each other, so that they can never go their own way or claim individual sovereignty ever again.
Exactly.
That's the purpose of the whole thing.
Right. I think there are so many things that Americans just can't do anymore, like certain transistors can't be made here, just a number of things. So,
they could be made here, but they can't be made here economically feasibly.
Oh, that's it. The way things are set up.
No, because of our standard of living. And so they're trying to destroy our standard of living and bring us down to a third world level, so that, everything the playing field will be even.
Right. We're brought down a lot. Everybody's brought up just a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, you got it.
That situation.
You're a very smart person. I really appreciate your call.
I just want to clarify. Thanks again, Bill.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you. Bye.
Very smart young man. I assume he's a young man. He could be an older man. I've heard some I've heard some men, 70 years old that sounded like they were 16. Believe it. That's true. So I don't know how old he is. I call him a young man, and not to insult him or anybody else, because he sounds like a young man. 520-333-4578 is the number. Tonight's open topic, open phones, open subject, open talk, open, whatever you want. Whatever you want. If you want it. I don't know if you want it or not. Maybe you don't. Good evening. You're on the air.
Hi, Bill Cooper?
Yes.
How you doing?
Good.
Yeah, I've been listening to you for a while. I have a question that keeps coming up. I mean, I've been thinking about some of these things I've heard over the shortwave radio and other places for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And
don't confuse shortwave radio, what you've heard on other broadcasts, with me or the hour of the time.
No, I'm not saying that. But
okay.
What I'm saying is, I've heard you say some certain things, and I've heard other people say certain things.
Don't even go there. If you want to ask me about what I said, that's fine. If you want to compare me to what other broadcasters have said, I won't even entertain such a thing.
All right. Well,
what they say has nothing to do with me. I do not take credit for anything that they do or say. Most of them are bullshit artists, and I've said that so many times it's pathetic. If you want to ask me specifically about something that I have said, then please do.
Okay, that I'll do. I believe you have said, if I'm mistaken, then say so and I'll hang up, but the AIDS virus is not, the AIDS virus is man-made.
Yes.
If that is true, then I have a hard time understanding why at least the black community in America and the Africans in particular are not outraged.
They are. No, you're mistaking the African community with intelligent people who have the ability to do research and discern the truth. Most people are sheeple, whether they're Africans, whether they're Americans, whether they're Caucasians, whether they're Catholics, whether they're Jews, doesn't make any difference. Most people are ignorant and stupid. In Africa, there are some brilliant people who have done the research and who are outraged and who are raising holy hell with the political regimes there to try to make them understand that that's exactly where it came from and it has nothing to do with my research.
Okay, well then obviously that stuff doesn't reach, not just mainstream media, but any media.
That's right.
Other than maybe yours. Because I personally would think that they would have to know.
The documented proof is in my book. Documented. Proven.
I've read one of your books.
Wait, what do you mean one? I've only published one.
Oh, then I've read it.
Okay. In my book, you will find the documentation introduced to the Congress, to the United States Senate, whereas the United States Army asked for $6 million to develop a microbe that would be destructive to the autoimmune system, thereby rendering a vaccine impossible and obsolete. As a biological warfare agent, it was developed at Fort Detrick, Maryland. It was injected into the African population in a smallpox vaccination project by the World Health Organization. And it was introduced to the American population in a hepatitis B research project where they actively and consistently advertised for homosexual volunteers.
Right.
Now,
yeah.
I'm not just saying this. I documented it with official government documents in my book, Behold a Pale Horse. Other people have followed up on that, have produced the same documents and the same proof. Now, you can believe it or not, it's up to you.
Well, like I said, even though you say you don't need comparisons, I wasn't comparing you. I'm just saying I've heard other people claiming the same things. And as things go, if you hear the same thing over and over by different people...
No. You're wrong. See, on this broadcast, you hear documentation that sends you somewhere to find the truth. on other broadcasts you hear people saying things.
Well, I didn't necessarily mean broadcast.
No,
I read something by Dr. Lord.
Listen to me. Unless people can furnish proof, don't listen to them.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay, good. That's the point I wanted to get through. Unless they can prove what they're saying, then what they're saying is bullshit.
Right. Alrighty.
Okay?
Now, thanks for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you for calling. It was a valuable call, and I'm glad that I got to put that documentation out.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Bye.
520-333-4578 is the number. Good evening. You're on the air.
Good evening, Bill. This is Tim.
Hi.
I'm glad to hear your friends are okay. Now maybe you can sleep
Me
tonight.
too, and I'm glad I can sleep tonight because if she hadn't called, I wouldn't have slept.
I'm sure of that.
Or I wouldn't sleep, I should say.
In reference to the last caller there on the research on the AIDS virus, and fate would have it, 2 weeks ago I went to the doctor over a spot that I believed was skin cancer, and I had to go back to him again today, and I carried that same research and documentation into him today because...
Where did you get it?
It was in a news magazine.
Okay.
And
did you compare it to what I had researched in my book?
Yes, it was the same thing, and it came from... they showed how it came from the Air Force Base, I believe it was, in Maryland.
It's not the Air Force. It's the Army Biological Warfare Center called Fort Detrick, Maryland. Yeah.
Right. But it was traced back to there. And I had told him this several months ago, and he looked at me like I was a kook, of course.
Uh-huh.
And when I delivered that research to him today, I like to knocked him off his chair. And so he said that, he would read it and study it and get back with me on it. So,
shook him up a little, huh?
Yeah, I did. It's he like to fell off his chair, Bill. I kid you not.
Did you show him the testimony in Congress whereby the Army requested the funds in order to be able to do exactly that research, to develop exactly that microbe?
Yes, and the patent numbers and everything.
Yeah, okay. Very wonderful.
Also, I found out a way to maybe wake some people up, and it's rather simple. If people will just write letters to their editors of their small-town newspapers. The small-town newspapers tend to publish things like that.
They tend to publish a lot more. In fact, if you're writing letters to a major newspaper and you're what they might call a conservative, or somebody drawing truth to the argument and shooting down liberal bullshit lies, they won't even print it. So your best opportunity is in small town papers.
And if people would write about things like like in Lubbock, Texas, where the SWAT teams are shooting themselves, write stories about things like that. They actually publish these things.
Yeah.
Which we've got to reach these people somehow, Bill.
Well, that's exactly true, and I've encouraged people to do this for many, many years.
But it's working in my neck of the woods, and so maybe if everybody else will give it a try, we'll.
Yeah, and there's another possibility too. If you don't like what your local newspaper is printing, start your own paper. If you don't have the money to do it by yourself, get a consortium of people together and do it together, sharing the expenses and telling the truth. And if you get enough advertising, you can even give the paper out for free, which means everybody's going to read it. And if you can't get enough advertising, then charge a nickel or 10 cents or whatever.
Right.
It's real cheap to produce a newspaper.
Another thing I did, I called told her what was going on up in Klamath Falls, and you could hear her chin hitting her desk because naturally she hadn't heard a word about it. Well, I talked with her. She wanted to spend some time on the phone, and she talked with me about a half an hour, and I gave her some websites so that she could research what was going on. And before it was all over with, she's persuaded me to draw up some kind of resolution to take to the yearly. It's an annual convention of the Texas Farm Bureau in my area, and she wants me to draw up a resolution to present to them to take to the head of the Texas Farm Bureau to keep the federal government from doing to our farmers what they've done to them in Oregon.
Well, it's very easy. I mean, if you read the Constitution, you understand it.
Right.
And if you research the laws passed by your legislature, and if your legislature has not granted the permission of the federal government to buy land and granted them jurisdiction over that land, then they have no jurisdiction, period.
Right.
No matter what they claim.
Right. Well, I know that, and you know that, but these farmers out here don't know that, but they're fixing to find out.
You know why nobody knows it? Because the members you send to your state legislature, the person you elect to the office of governor and lieutenant governor, the people you elect to your state senate, are just people just like you. And they never knew it. And when you elect them, you assume that they know all the laws and they know everything. They don't know anything.
Right.
They go there with all the best intentions, and they're swamped with special interest groups and United States government agencies that come that tell them what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. And they believe, like everybody else believes. The truth is they're ignorant and stupid just like everybody else.
And it's our duty to wake them up.
To not only wake them up, but educate them and hold. And finally, the greatest duty you have is hold them responsible. And if they will not be responsible, oust them from government. If they will not be ousted from government, then the militias must take control of the state and restore constitutional Republican government.
Amen.
That's the truth.
Amen.
Not revolution, not instituting some other government, but restoration of constitutional Republican government under the law.
We're not anti-government, we're anti-corruption.
No, what we are is pro-government, the lawful constitutional government, and it is our duty not only to support that government, but to oppose all enemies to it and destroy them. And if they are in the process of destroying that government, it is our duty to overcome them and restore that constitutional Republican government under the law.
Amen. I agree 100%.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bill, and God bless you, my friend.
God bless you, too.
Good night.
520-333-4570. Do you all understand the difference? Good evening. You're on the air.
Hi, Mr. Cooper. This is Tim out of St. Paul, Minnesota.
Hi, Tim.
I did some research on the Waco situation, and I sent you a big old 3-ring binder. I was wondering if you got it.
I got the 3-ring binder. I've gone through a little bit of it, and it's stuff that I've had for a long time. I haven't gone through all of it. You may have some stuff in there I've never seen before, but so far I haven't gotten to it.
Yeah, I just was wondering if you got it and what you thought of it.
Yeah, I did get it, and so far what I've seen is he's done a great job at assembling information and documentation and a lot of facts and things, but I haven't been able to go through the whole thing yet.
Yeah, it's pretty thick, so.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, well, thanks a lot.
But eventually I will go through it, and if you brought up something that I don't know about or the public doesn't know about, I guarantee you'll hear it on this broadcast.
All right. Yeah, maybe I'll call you out there and discuss it with you.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Great. Thank
Bye.
you. 520-333-4578 is the number. Good evening. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, Bill?
Who did you call?
I called you, Bill. I just wanted to make sure I connected.
Well, of course if you called me, that's who you're going to get.
Okay, this is Marty in Indiana.
Hi, Marty.
First-time caller. I like your show on your website all the time. I'm just about done with Behold the Pale Horse.
Okay, this is not Rush. I don't care if you're the first-time caller or if you've called 5,000 times.
Okay.
You're just as important to me as anybody else, as long as you're intelligent and you got something to say.
Yes, sir, that I am. And I have just two items real quick. I also sent you something recently. Were you familiar with the information on the detention center concentration camp in Indianapolis?
Yeah.
Beach Grove, the Amtrak facility?
Yes.
I sent you
In fact, I was familiar with that years ago.
Okay. Well, a buddy of mine and I went there a week ago Saturday, and we could not find any evidence of anything like that there.
Well, it's all gone now. Like I said, I was familiar with it years ago when it was there.
Okay.
The person who first brought it out, and the first videotape and film of it was done by Linda Thompson.
Linda Thompson, right.
And she was right on, and she exposed it to the whole world. It embarrassed them so much that they completely dismantled the whole damn thing, and all you see now there's railroad tracks and what appears to be a normal station. However, there is no station there, and it's not used.
Okay, well, we were there, and they were working on some trains. There wasn't a lot of people there. They were working on some.
Yeah, there was no railroad station there. It's like a maintenance depot.
Yeah, it's a repair facility.
Yeah,
correct.
but it used to be a railroad station.
Right.
And there were the revolving gates. There were the fences. There were the everything was there.
Okay.
And I can guarantee you of that. What they've done is because of the publicity. Linda Thompson brought such attention to that. And I did, and other people did, who sent people up there to get photographs and to verify its existence, that they had no choice but to dismantle it.
Okay, yeah, we wondered if that was a possibility because we had heard about it a long time ago.
Not only the possibility, it's a fact.
Okay. The other.
I mean, I have videotape of it. It's not a guess. It's not something that I made up or Linda Thompson made up. It's something that was real at the time. And they have been forced to change it because of the publicity. The whole nation rose up against it.
Well, that's good. We need to rise up against more of this stuff.
Well, that's very hard to do.
I know, but we can't give up. The other thing I had a question about, in Behold the Pale Horse, you talked about the Kennedy assassination, the Secret Service driver turning and shooting him with the .45.
Did you read the beginning of that chapter?
Yes.
Did you read the end of that chapter?
Well, I read the whole thing.
Well, did you read the beginning? What did it say?
Best of my recollection, that
said this chapter is based upon a hypothesis.
Okay.
It's based upon information that I saw in documents while with the United States Navy, current information that's floating around in the civilian community, testimony by a lot of people, all of which, or none of which, I can vouch for, but I've included it in this chapter so that you can make up your own mind.
I gotcha.
At the end of the chapter, in conclusion number 5, I said, I believe this whole thing is a hoax, and that I was used in order to help promulgate this hoax in order to create a one-world government. So you didn't really read my book. You only read what you wanted to believe.
Okay, well, I guess I didn't focus on...
No, I'm not talking about focusing. I'm talking about you didn't read what I said, or you would know that.
Well, the ending, I read...
No. I will not accept excuses, period.
Okay.
I specifically made those points clear in my book. And if you had read my book and understood what I wrote, you would know exactly what I said. Therefore, you didn't really read my book. You only read what reinforced what you wanted to believe.
Well,
isn't that true?
No.
It's not?
No.
Then how come you missed those most important points that would have illuminated you in this regard?
I didn't understand.
Take a hike, jerk off. I mean, you're just making a fool of yourself. Most people who claim to read my book don't read it at all. They read what they want to see. Most people who read my book don't even read the whole book. They just read the chapter on what they consider to be aliens. And that's it. Good evening. You're on the air.
Hello, Bill.
Hi.
I want to ask you something about using the
the rod down the hollow point bullet? What do you use to glue that tungsten rod down in?
You don't have to glue it. If you make the hole the proper size,
right.
When you put the tungsten rod in, it's not going to come out. And which way is the bullet moving?
Moving forward.
That's right. And where is the tungsten rod?
Well, it's forward.
It's in the tip of the bullet.
Okay.
But so that it doesn't wobble and create an off-center condition, the hole has to be perfectly in the center of the center of gravity of the bullet, vertically, and the tungsten rod has to fit snugly so that there is no wobble, there's no movement, there's no chance that it's going to disturb the center of gravity of the bullet.
Yeah, well, I've
because
done
that affects accuracy. And
I did that to a few, but I used some Loctite on them.
Why? You don't have to. Which way's the bullet going?
Yeah, forward.
Okay. You think that tungsten rod's going to fall out?
No, I didn't think so, but I thought I'd make sure, you know. And they didn't wobble or anything. I tried them out at 200 yards. I loaded them kind
They
of
didn't
light.
wobble at all, did they?
Nope.
So that guy the other night, he's full of crap, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
If you're competent at the reloading bench, and if you know what you're doing, it will never wobble. You will not disturb the center of gravity of the bullet. You will have armor-piercing rounds all the way out to as far as your weapon and your cartridge has the energy to deliver enough force to penetrate that armor.
Yeah, well, I've been reloading for years, so I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, well, obviously, so do I. I had to laugh at the guy because here I am with the 375 H&H Magnum Ackley Improved, getting 6-inch groups at 1,000 yards, and he's telling me that after 75 yards the bullet's going to tumble. and I'm firing these bullets that I manufactured on my reloading bench with tungsten rods in the tip.
Well, the range I belong to, the farthest we can go out is 400. So.
Now, if you're getting 400 yards and you're getting good groups with these bullets that are armor piercing, then you're a good, competent reloader.
Yeah, well, I just tried 200 because I just loaded 4 of them up and thought, well, and I loaded them kind of light just to see what was going on.
Yeah.
I tried at 200, and I just wanted to make sure, you know.
Yeah,
now I'm going to try 400 next time I go out.
Well, then you're doing good. The trick is not to disturb the center of gravity on the vertical longitude line of the bullet.
That's right. Yeah, you got to drill them straight, and I've got a jig that I made for that. So
that's why I've stressed in every broadcast that you must have an absolutely accurate centering jig.
Yes, you do. If you don't, you're going to have trouble.
If you don't, you are going to have trouble, and they will tumble.
Yep. Okay, Bill, that's all I've got for you.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
Thanks for calling.
Have a good night now. Bye.
520-333-4578 is the number. That was a good call. That was a good call, especially because you heard from somebody else, that previous caller, who said that you couldn't do such a thing beyond, what did he say, 70 feet or 70 yards? It was 70, whatever it was, and he was a liar. He's what we call a change agent. His job is to call radio shows and discredit whatever is the right thing that people are talking about. Good evening, you're on the air.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Cooper. I've got something here regarding water that Tim was talking about up there in the Klamath Basin, is it? And it was in our Temple Daily Telegram here on Sunday, June the 24th, 2001, page 7A, and it was talking about, it was the Clearwater Underground Water Conservation District talking about underground water, et cetera, et cetera. It goes down to where it's going to affect Bell County, which is where I live, and it talks about registering your well.
Well, you should have known that.
I know.
I mean, that's going to happen, and the people up there know that, and Lieutenant Jack Redfield of the Klamath Falls Police Department, when he gave his speech, which is, by the way, the headline story on our website, WilliamCooper.com, go there and read it, he said that the next thing that they will be doing is restricting farmers and agricultural interests and ranchers and rural home sites from using well water.
Yeah, I hope Tim can get a hold of that article from the Temple Daily Telegram.
Now, what I hope is everybody can get hold of a good weapon, enough rounds, and enough vested knowledge in the founding principles and ideals of this country that they're willing to oppose that even at the risk of their life.
Yeah, that's for sure. This is supposed to be effective next year when they finish their study, and it requires that all wells, new wells will be required, all new and existing wells will be registered.
Yeah, well, it's going to, you see, that's just a test base.
Uh-huh.
If they're successful there, it will happen all across,
I know,
all across the country. And in Arizona, it will be especially destructive because most of the state exists upon well water.
I cannot imagine what they're going through up there in that, what's the name of it?
Klamath Falls. I can imagine they're being destroyed. They're being destroyed. Their livelihoods being destroyed. Their families being destroyed. Their properties being stripped from them. They're being literally raped, if you want to know the truth.
Yeah.
And in America, that is the crime.
Yeah, I know. Okay, well, I just wanted to add that little bit there to confirm what Tim was talking about.
Okay, you have your rifle?
No.
You have your rounds?
I got a catapult.
Catapult. What do you mean catapult? Catapult's not going to help you.
I'm kidding.
You want to win? You want to win this war?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm like you. I don't like to talk about things over the air.
Well, get a rifle.
Okay.
Get enough rounds to last you for at least 15 years if you're a good shot, and make sure you're a good shot.
I don't know if they can find that much.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you're not willing to do this, you're going to die.
Well, I know.
As some refugee by the side of the road or a beggar in a ditch. And if you don't like to hear that, screw you, because that's the truth. 520-333-4578 is the number. That's the truth, folks. When I ask you, do you have a weapon? You say, no. You know what that tells me? You're full of crap. You're not taking any of this seriously. You don't give a damn. And you're not willing. And you don't even consider in your wildest dreams standing up to protect this country. That's what I hear. May not be what you thought you said, but that's what I hear. And I'll tell you something. I'm right when I hear it. Good evening. You're on the air. And I don't care if it's a man or a woman. I don't care if it's a man or a woman. When I hear it, and I tell you about it. Good evening. You're on the air.
Bill?
Yeah.
This is Bill from Pennsylvania. I heard your show a little while ago talking about the July 13th Lubbock, Texas fiasco with the SWAT team.
Yeah.
And you read an excellent editorial. Is there any way that I can get a copy of that editorial?
Call the newspaper. I gave you all the information.
I didn't get that.
Well, I'm sorry about that. I tell you all the time, make sure you got pen and paper by your side. I don't have it in front of me.
I mean, is it on your website?
No, it's not on my website. The story might be on my website. If you go there and look in the archives, have you done that?
No, I haven't.
No, you haven't. Hey, do some work. Stop looking for me to do everything for you. I gave you all the information. Yes, you are doing that. I gave you all the information in the original broadcast. I told you where it came from. I told you what it was all about. I told you the city. Everything.
Well, I just repeated the city and I repeated the date.
Then why don't you call that city and that newspaper and that Chamber of Commerce to get the information? Why are you calling me? I'll tell you why. Because you're lazy jerk off. You don't like it, folks? Screw you. I've been doing this for you for years, and you absolutely refuse to do anything for yourself. I give you all the information, every single bit of it. You don't write it down. You won't call the city or the newspaper or the Chamber of Commerce or the Sheriff's Department, all the police. You won't do anything on your own. Period. I absolutely will not do anything extra for you above what I have already done. I owe you nothing. What you're getting from me tonight and every other night is from the goodness of my heart because of my concern for this country, not necessarily for you. And it blows my mind that you're so damn lazy. really warps my brain that you are so lazy that you can't do anything for yourself. You're afraid to make a phone call or write a letter or submit a Freedom of Information Act request to the government to find out the same research and information that I have done so that you will know the truth. You want to call me and ask me to give it to you. And others. In fact, that's what you count on. That's what you exist on. That's your whole life. And I'm sick of it. Good evening. You're on the air.
Hi, Bill. This is Tom from Colorado.
Who?
Tom from Colorado.
Are you on some roam phone or something?
The only phone I live on acreage, and I'm on Nextel service.
I don't know what that means.
Well, it's a telephone system, Nextel.
Okay, well, you're coming in okay now. Beginning, you were breaking up, but you're okay now.
I was in the rocking chair, and I stopped rocking.
Okay, stop rocking. Sit still and talk.
Okay. I really enjoyed that one program you had on a couple of months ago. I tape recorded it on who voted for Al Gore or for George Bush or for whoever, Pat Buchanan, and why they voted.
Yeah.
And then your explanation was so excellent that I've been telling friends and everything about it. And, you know, it used to be, in the past few years, I'd occasionally listen to Rush because he was always bringing up points about Bill Clinton, this and shutting things down. And occasionally now,
but it's all about stuff that makes no difference whatsoever.
Exactly. Well, now everything callers are calling and saying, well, Bush is doing this or this, and he'll defend them to the very end. You know. And the other day, somebody called up and was saying that they voted Libertarian or whatever. And he said, or Reform Party, and Rush says, well, why would you ever vote for nobody who ever had a chance to win? And I thought, you know, you don't know nothing about how the system works. And so I really appreciated your call. I mean, your program that night.
Great. Not only that, but if you've been paying attention to Bush as he's gotten office, he has reneged, and I mean absolutely reneged, reversed himself on at least 8 of the major campaign points that he professed to people that he would never back down on, and that's why they voted for him. In fact, on most of those 8 points, there's no difference between him and what Clinton would have done, or what Clinton was actively doing, let me put it that way.
Exactly. In fact, my wife Marie called in that night on that program and gave you one of the points.
Oh, I remember that. Okay.
So, you know, it's just funny now that the tides are turned and Bush is in office that everything Bush does is right with Rush. And that, to me, is just showing you...
It's right with Rush because Rush is a shill.
He's being paid.
He's a shill. Yeah. He's a shill for the New World Order.
Correct.
His job is to pacify the conservative element of the voters of the United States of America.
Exactly. Now that you mentioned New World Order, a month or so ago I was at lunch listening, and somebody wrote Rush an email saying, Rush, I'm worried about you being involved with the New World Order and not even knowing what you're doing and all this. And he made a big slam thing that he put on his website, like, ho, 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 this New World Order is a bunch of Barbra Streisand, you know, BS.
No, the New World Order is absolutely true. It can be proven. What can I say?
Exactly.
I've proven it so many times with so many hours of the broadcast, the hour at the time. Documented it.
Exactly.
Rush doesn't document anything. He gets on and he pontificates like the asshole that he is.
Exactly.
And might I add, fat asshole.
My wife was one that called you last night to say, Bill, we're missing your program. You said a lightning storm had blown it out, and you explained it very well at the beginning of your program today.
WBCQ was not even on the air during my broadcast last night.
And I'm glad that your first caller calmed you down for the evening as far as you getting a good night's sleep tonight.
Oh, me too, because I wouldn't have slept. I was so worried about it. You have no idea how much I love Gene and Pat and
exactly.
And
you notice the way they're trying to hang Terry Nichols now, exactly like you predicted.
Yep.
Exactly like you predicted.
Yep.
So,
well,
okay, God bless, Bill. I'll let somebody else try and get in before you go off.
You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling. That's it, folks. Good night. God bless each and every single one of you. Good night, Annie Pooh and Allison. I love you more than you will ever know. Been listening to the Hour of the Time. I'm William Cooper, the most dangerous radio host in America, according to William Jefferson Clinton. And if George W. Bush slips up, he'll slip out some memo to that effect also. Of course, yeah. Greatest compliment ever paid to me in my entire life. Don't miss tomorrow's broadcast, folks. You'll regret it if you do. Can you believe my Ma Jean? I'll be there Tuesday, Bill. Can't wait to see you. Never bothered to mention it was the 18th. I'm so relieved. I am so relieved. And I love her so much. So, we look forward to seeing her and Pat and everybody on that day.
Wake up!